Welcome back to the Sensible Mama podcast. I am Paulina Westcott, your host. I am joined today by Lainey Stancil, who has, we had too many things to cover, so we decided we were going to break up our talks into a few episodes. First off, why don't you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's start there.
So my name is Lainey Stancil, and I am a new doula, as well as a boy mom and an advocate for birth freedom here in Georgia. So my doula business, I just started recently after being brought into the birth world, I guess you'd say, from having birth myself. So yeah, I have that, and then my nonprofit that I started that is Peach State Birth Coalition, and so we're trying to make some big moves here in Georgia.
Amazing. Yeah, it's funny. There's so many people that I talk to that are specifically doulas. There are other areas in the birth world or whatever you want to call it, but doulas in particular, not all of them, but there's so many people that I talk to that had their own birth experience, had this aha moment where they're like, wow, it really doesn't have to be this way. And by this way, I mean following the medical model, right? And I'm not a doula, but I consider myself part of this world now. We have this moment where we're like, this is so different than what I was led to believe. And if only I had known what I know now, for some of us later in the game of pregnancy, and for some of us, fairly early on, we're like, I wish somebody had told me that this was an option and that I could advocate for myself or have someone available like a doula to advocate for me. Maybe my experience would have been different. And then we go on to spread the word and try to help mamas really just take control of their own births, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I knew what a doula was because my best friend growing up, her mom, or excuse me, not her mom, her grandma was actually a doula. And so growing up, we would go to her grandma's house, and she would always be talking about doing these baby belly dancing classes. And I was like, what is that? And she would wear the little skirt and everything. And I was like, that sounds so cool. I don't really know what that is, but I just kind of always heard her talk about these things. And so then once I was old enough, I was like, oh, I want a doula like my friend's grandma. And so, but she sadly lives in Florida, so she wasn't able to be my doula. But that was I knew I wanted a doula, but I had no idea about home birth or any of that sort of stuff. I mean, it was always just a joke that everybody's like, oh yeah, you're that girl that definitely have their baby in their living room. And I'm like, yeah, I am. So it was kind of like a bucket list item, but it was very theoretical. I didn't think in a million years that it would actually be not only what I was able to do, but then what started this whole mission and almost a whole career basically. So it just kind of is like the craziest and coolest snowball ever.
Amazing. And you mentioned nobody that was in your circles, nobody that you knew had a home birth, right?
So there was only one girl that we were friends when we were younger, and we went to high school together. She ended up going to a different high school, but I saw on Facebook that she had a home birth. So I knew it was possible. I'd seen it, but it was sort of oh, I don't really know what their story is. And thankfully she was super vocal on social media and stuff like that. So that was really cool to be able to kind of see it, but I still didn't know how she found a midwife or the actual steps to figure out okay, how is this something that I can do?
Right.
And I, you don't feel super comfortable reaching out to somebody and just being like, hey, how do I do that?
Yeah. How do I have a baby like you had a baby? It's a weird question. It shouldn't be a question. It should be totally normal. We should totally, I'm very comfortable now reaching out to total strangers being like, hey, guess what? You can have a baby on your living room floor and it's awesome.
And it's great. It's the best experience. Yeah. Now I'm totally comfortable doing it. And it ended up for me, I did reach out to not her, but another family friend, who is the one that got me with the midwife who I have or I use now. And she's also part of the whole thing that I'm doing with my nonprofit. So she has a, or not her, but she is part of a nonprofit group that is just midwives. And so their group and then our group is all working together, which we're more of like the consumer side, the people who are kind of like helping me. I do have one, she's just a mom, and then the other one, she's a doula as well. So not necessarily have to be a birth worker, but just somebody who's passionate about birth.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So
So
it's,
if you don't mind, I would love to have you walk us through your story, your birth story, wherever it may begin, perhaps even before the birth itself, but how you
yeah.
came to this wondrous aha moment that we are talking
Yes.
about.
Right. So I guess it started long before birth ever even became a thing, because I struggled with infertility, and so, and it was kind of like unexplained for a really long time. I'm really young. I'm only 27, and so doctors just kept telling me like, you're too young. You're too young to have these issues. Like, you just need to keep trying. And I was like, okay, like, I guess. Um, but I just felt like, I don't know, like, I feel like most women, like, we know our bodies, like, we know when something's off, we know when we just don't feel right. And that's just kind of how I felt. And so I was like, I just feel like something's wrong. So I was listening to a podcast, and they had talked about like a at-home fertility test that you could do. And so I was like, well, if nobody's going to listen to me, I'll just do it myself. So I ordered the test and I did it myself, and the results came back. I found a nurse midwife who worked at an OBGYN, like a local one. And went and was like, hey, I got all these labs done. Can you tell me what they mean? And she was like looking through them, and she was like, oh, you have PCOS. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I have no idea what that is. I don't really know like what that means. And so she kind of explained and, was like, I'm a big researcher, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and figure out what this is, what this means for me. And she told me that I was having inovulatory cycles. And then she was just like, but if you want to get pregnant tomorrow, like, I can give you medication and you can, we can do that. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Because I don't know. I just always thought that like I would have that moment where it would just be that, oh crap moment, like we knew we were trying, but still like that surprise of like,
It's
oh,
so
like I just
magical.
got the positive test, situation. And so I never like, I don't know, it felt like that got like, to take the medicine, like that would just be ripped away. And
Mm.
so I was like, I don't know if I can take that jump yet. And she was like, that's fine. Whenever you're ready, just call me. And I was like, okay. So I did a bunch of research and I started taking like a bunch of supplements to kind of help my hormones and things like that. And unfortunately, nothing ever, I did, I started feeling better. I started feeling like more like I had more energy. I started losing like a lot of like, I had a lot of like bloat and stuff, like
Mm.
a lot of swelling. I had joint pain, like things that like somebody who's 22, 23 shouldn't be having. Like, I'm young. I should be able to walk around for the day and not have like weird joint pains or all this crazy swelling and stuff. So all that started going away, but I didn't get pregnant. So I finally went back and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to just take a jump at it and see how it goes. So we did a round of letrozole. I think that's how you say it. And I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And it didn't work. And so I was crushed. And I was like, okay, like she said that I would get pregnant tomorrow. I mean, I know she said it very jokingly. She was
Sure.
trying to be funny. And I didn't hold her to that. But I was like, what the heck? Like,
But it's
even
at
with
the
the medicine,
expectation, right?
yeah, like I'm like, even with the medicine, it's still not working. So then the second round, like I had in my head, like, okay, if this doesn't work, like I'm done for right now. I am still young. I have plenty of time. I'm gonna relax about it. So I had full, like in my head, convinced myself it wasn't gonna work. And I think that's what like was kind of a good thing in a way, because when that test turned positive, I got that shock. because I didn't believe it. So I was like, oh my God, like my husband was asleep and he's still upset with me to this day because I literally just like ran into the bedroom and was like, it's positive. And he was like, you couldn't have told me like in a cooler, like more calm way or like let me wake up. And I was like, I'm sorry, I was so excited. So I promised him that next round I will try to make it better for him.
Nice.
But so that was like I still in my own way got that like exciting moment.
Hmm.
And it was really scary in the beginning because I just wasn't sure. Like they had me on progesterone and things like that, to make sure that everything would be okay. So like every appointment, like I would, because of the fertility and stuff, I just naturally was like, okay, well, I have to go back to see this doctor. Well, I think it was like the week after I got my positive pregnancy test, I got a note from the office that the midwife I was seeing left the practice.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay, like I really liked her. She's the only one who listened to me about my PCOS. She's the only one who made me feel heard. So I was like, whatever. There's got to be another midwife at this practice who's similar to her. And they were all nice. They weren't as encouraging as she was.
Yeah.
And so I still just went because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I was scared of being like high risk because of fertility treatment. And I wasn't sure, like nobody told me if that considered me high risk or not. So I didn't know, like, am I okay? Like the pregnancy seemed to be going normal. So I was like, I don't know if that means that I'm high risk or not, just because I did fertility treatment. I know IVF it is, and it's a little bit more like they need to be watched a little bit more. So nobody ever told me anything. So I just assumed that like it meant I needed to stay in the system. Um, and so I kind of kept going to my appointments, but everything was going great, which made me feel, amazing because I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. And then I went to, I think it was the appointment before my 28-week appointment, because I hadn't done like the glucose test and things yet. But I went in and I wanted to talk about my birth plan. And so I had done so much, as I said, I'm a researcher. So I'd like done so much research and I made like this cute little plan that was a 1 page. So they didn't have to flip, like everything was right there. So that was nice and easy for them to read. And I just wanted to go over it with somebody, just to make sure that like they knew what I was wanting. If it, that's all I needed. I was like, okay, well, when can we go over this? And she was like, this was a different midwife, not obviously the original one. And she just was very like dismissive and was like, we don't really need to do that. And I was like, yeah, we do. I'm a first time mom. Like I want to talk over even if it's just humor me. Like that's all I'm asking. Just humor me. And she was just like, well, I mean, most of those things that you guys want these days are just regular practice for us now.
You guys. What was meant by you guys, do you suppose?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming, us new crunchy moms or whatever. I don't know. That's what I was like, you guys. I was like, I'm the only one in the room. Who's you guys? Like, hey, and I was like, well, what are your normal practices then? And she was like, well, I mean, we do delayed cord clamping. And I was like, okay, that's great. Like that, like, is that what you thought? I was only going to ask for delayed
That's
cord
one
clamping?
page. All I wrote was just delayed
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I kind of like caught at that point, I was just getting like upset. So I was just like shutting down and I was like, I just don't even want to talk anymore. So I was just like, okay, sounds good. And like in the back of my head, I was like, yep, nope, nope. I don't know where I'm going, but it's not here. Like, and so when I got in the car, I called my husband and I was just like bawling. And I'm like, I just feel so like unheard. Like, how is anybody going to listen to me when I'm in labor, when I need them most, if they're not even going to like have a conversation right now?
It's so funny. So it's not funny, but the funny thing is the same conversation, slightly different topic. Mine was about the gestational diabetes test and what they were demanding. But I called my husband, also bawling because pregnancy hormones.
Yeah, because I'm pregnant.
No. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't continue to have somebody tell me that I need to do it just because they told me to. I'm like, maybe some people fall into that category of people who are okay with that.
And that's fine.
Us guys, we're not cool with that. We don't do that. That's not how we roll, you know, like.
And I just don't feel like, I don't know, like I just want to be, I don't want to be told what to do. Like, I just want to feel heard. Literally, if she would have just sat there and listened to me and just shook her head, like, that would have made me feel better than like being all like mean about it.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and my husband, though, he was just like, why don't you just have him at home like you always talk about? And I was like, but I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how that works. And so he called his mom, who had a friend that had a home birth. So I reached out to the lady who had the home birth. And mind you, being, I mean, I'm over halfway there. So I'm like, there's no way any midwife is going to have availability for me. Like, there's no way. And I just kind of was, she was like, look, let me see if I can reach out to some people. She might not, but she might know somebody else who does, you know, let's just see. And I was like, okay, you know what? And literally that night I was like, look, if this is meant to be and she has a spot, then like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because I mean, like, everybody's like, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, that sounds so scary. And I'm like, birth in general is scary. Nobody knows what they're doing the first time. So I'm like, I don't know any different. I'm scared no matter what.
Right. Right.
So I think it might have taken her, I don't even know if it was like a whole day or not, but she literally messaged me back and was like, she has an opening for February. Here's all her information. Call her now. And I was literally like, whoa, okay, what? Like, sounds good, I guess. And so I went to go and see her and do like my consult. And it was like, and at the time, it was my main midwife, her, and then she had a student midwife, and then she had just brought on another student midwife. So 3 women who are sitting there, undivided attention, like asking me, each of them asking me, you know, different little questions. And like in the beginning, you know, it was just, they were trying to get to know me and stuff. So I'm like, that doesn't ever happen, you know, like never once were they like face down in a chart or anything, you know. I mean, obviously they were taking like some notes and things, but I don't even know if they were at that point, because it's not like they were doing blood pressure and stuff at this appointment. It was just a consult. So they're literally like undivided attention, asking me all these questions, and we're literally just sitting on like a little couch. And it was in the winter time, so she had like a little what is that, like a little fire burning stove or whatever, those like old like fire burning stoves, because her little area is so cute. It's in her basement. And like, I mean, I was in somebody's home, but like I just felt so at home. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I love these people.
It's so funny. And you don't know that that's even available. There's 2 things that I want to interject here. Is one is when I was in the, you know, the standard, whatever, traditional, I don't know, the medical system.
I know, yeah.
The appointments were 15 minutes. It was, hey, how are you? Pee in a cup, check your blood pressure. How are you feeling? Is he kicking? Do you have any questions? Goodbye.
Yep.
And I was like, I guess that's just what it is. Like,
right. But that's kind of how like every doctor's appointment is, you know? So like you're used to that. Like you're used to that standard of care. So I was but like it's not a sick visit.
Blood pressure. That's the whole point of me being here. Fine.
Yeah.
And then I was on the phone with my midwife, and it was the same, just a phone call, because I was just getting over COVID, and she didn't want me anywhere near her office. I don't want to get
understandably
pregnant lady sick. It was bad enough that, you know, I was. And I was like, one video call, and I was like, she's just like not in my face, but like she's like taking in everything that I have to say. And I was like, I'm concerned about this. I have questions about this. They're telling me I need to do that. I'm going to text you a picture of my numbers for the gestational diabetes test because they're saying I didn't pass and I didn't fail. And she's like, okay, well, I'd have to look at this and then I'll take that in this context, this, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to, and she was like working with me instead of on me, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was like, wait, this phone call, we're not even like in person, this phone call, you have more like understanding of me holistically, like me, not just my blood pressure and my pee. Like I feel more seen and more understood and more cared for in this phone call than I have in the last 8 months of my pregnancy care.
Yeah, exactly.
The second thing I wanted to interject, it is never too late to switch providers. You switched when you were halfway through. I switched when I was 8 months pregnant. 8 months pregnant. Like,
that's insane.
You have to
love
be
it.
a person to do that. But the truth of the matter is your instincts, your gut is so powerful and you gotta lean into it. So if you have a red flag, you know a red flag when you see one, don't brush it off.
And sometimes I feel like some people, like a red flag to you may not be a red flag to somebody else.
Yes.
But if it is a red flag to you and you feel that, then that, like, because a lot of my friends would have been like, so what? You know, like, what if, like, they said that they would do everything, so why do you need to go over it? But I'm like, no, but like that was so important to me, and like that threw the flag up so quick. And for somebody else it doesn't, and that's okay.
Totally
their
fine.
flag might be different, but like, even like if I would have talked to somebody else, like talked to maybe a friend or something, they might have been like, you know, they could have maybe talked me out of it, you know. But like, obviously my husband knows me and he was like, have him at home. So, but everybody's red flag can be different.
That's amazing. But it's true because some people are okay with the medical system as it is, and if you feel more comfortable delivering in a hospital and you feel like you would be more stressed at home, then maybe a home birth isn't for you, and that's also completely acceptable. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. The point is, you have to own your own birth, no matter where it is. Even if you're scheduling a C-section, as far as I'm concerned, like, okay, maybe you're going to be the one that's operating on yourself, fine, but you should still feel in control, and you should still have autonomy and informed consent and all those other good things. It shouldn't be something that happens because after the fact, these people, these poor women that talk about how their birth was so traumatic or how they have, you know, so much anxiety surrounding birth, or they're afraid to get into another pregnancy because of how the birth went. I'm like,
exactly.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't. Because it's when birth like happens to you instead of like you being a part of your birth. Regardless, like you said, even in a C-section, like when it just happens to you, you feel so out of control. But if you can be a part of, even if they're, I mean, I'm personally, I would not want to like see any of that, but like I would want to know like what's going on, like what's happening with my baby, what's happening with me, like just keying them in on those things, like that gives them that autonomy back. And I feel like that's what's most important, is just making sure that mom is like having her own autonomy and like what is happening to her, because it's your body.
It's your body, it's your baby, it's your birth, it's the miracle of life. Like, that is not something that should be taken away from you. I actually, not to totally derail the conversation, but I had one guest on recently, Chia Mosley. She's a you know, an influencer. She has pregnancy over 40. She was 46 when she conceived.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But she ended up having a C-section, not scheduled. It wasn't planned. It's just how it went. She was the first C-section story that I had ever heard that made me realize that even in that scenario, you can have autonomy and control and be a part of it. And it was so, I don't know, comforting to me, because the C-section has always been my biggest fear. Some people are afraid of tearing. Some people are afraid of, you know, pooping and birth.
No,
For me,
not a problem.
It's always been the fear that I might need a C-section. And listening to her story, I realized, you know, it can happen to you and it can be awful. Or if you have the right mindset and you have the right people around you, it can be just as magical and just as empowering and beautiful as any other variety of birth.
Yeah, I love that. I wish that for every mom that, ends up having a C-section or schedules a C-section, like that is just because I had a home birth, like that's not I'm not saying that everybody needs to have a home birth. Like I just want everybody to have a good birth.
Yes.
Like, and I know bad things happen. It's birth. Like it's not pretty.
It's part of
It's
life. I tell people, I'm
yeah,
like, people are like, isn't it risky to have a baby at home? I'm like, it's risky to
it's
have a
risky to
baby.
have a baby.
It's risky, honestly.
Point blank.
But the fact of the matter is, you can apply that same philosophy to literally anything in life. It's risky to drive a car. It's
Yep.
risky to eat sushi. It's risky to
Yep.
this. It's risky to that. Life
Mhm.
has
Yeah,
inherent
risks.
risks. And if you
Mhm.
don't live, like you
Mhm.
can protect yourself in a bubble and avoid all the
Yeah.
risks, but then you're not living life,
No,
right?
you're not at all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean through everything, I can't imagine it any other way. I hope to have another home birth in the future. I I don't I just want other mom like after my experience, I was like I just want other moms to feel like I felt so proud of myself. And like just because I did it without medication and somebody does it with medication doesn't mean that I am more proud or I should, the whole trophy situation. But like I just feel like I want more moms to just come out of whatever birth experience they have and it just be a more positive, something that they can be proud of their body and their baby and themselves and be like, wow, like I just did that. Whether you do it without an epidural, with an epidural, a C-section, no matter what you do, your body is literally bringing life into the world. So it's like it doesn't really matter how it happens. It just matters if you're like proud and you feel good about yourself. Like I feel like there's so many women who, like you said, like birth is just such a trauma. And like and unfortunately there are still going to be traumatic events that happen in birth.
Mhm.
But for the most part, like the things that can be controlled or the people who you have in your room or your provider or things like that, like should be as positive as they can be, or at least make you feel like somebody's listening to you and not calling you one of those.
Right. So, with that, let's get back to the birth story. So you meet your midwife team, you
Yes.
fall in love.
Yes. And so I started seeing them, and I was really, everything was pretty normal. I had already had my 20-week scan. I did my glucose drink with them, but I was lucky enough to already be with my midwife, so I got to do like I think it's called like Fresh Step
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. Yeah, and so that went well. I didn't have any issues with anything, and so I I really had no clue that I was in labor the day that I went into labor. It was a Sunday, and we went to church. And since we were doing the home birth, and me and my husband are very big in our faith, and so we really wanted like either one of because we go to a little bit of like a larger church, and so we really wanted like one of his childhood pastors to come and like bless the house and just make us feel, like okay, this is like our sacred little space now. But life is life, and people and pastors are busy, so we never got to do that, but that day, it just so happened when we were walking out of the sanctuary, our pastor of our now church was standing there, and we haven't really gotten to like meet him on like a personal level just yet. We do a small group, and we have a pastor that leads that. But we were like walking out. My husband was like, "What if we just get him to pray for us, like right here, right now?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, let's just do that." And I was like, "Okay." So we walk over there, and like one explained to him that we're having our baby in our living room. and, and I'm like, so can you pray for us? And he was like, oh, yeah, of course. And so we do that, and then we had some friends that had come to church with us that day, and they wanted to go check out this new like pickleball place. It's like a restaurant and pickleball courts and everything. I don't know. My husband's very into all those little trendy sports. And so I was like, sure, I need to walk anyway. So I was like, the guys can play pickleball and us girls can walk around And the whole time, like throughout the day, I remember feeling like kind of crampy and my back hurting, but like nothing like crazy. I mean, like I said, I have PCOS, so like my periods can be intense. And when I have like a big cyst and they burst, I mean, it is very painful. So I felt things. I think it is thundering very loudly outside. So
Can't
if you
hear
hear
that
it,
at all. It's totally
it's
fine.
like shaking my house.
Wow.
um, but yeah, so I was like cramping and I kept walking and my friend kept saying like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But like I guess cuz I was like, kind of doing that like I think I'm going to call it the labor pause because now my current clients when I'm with them like cuz a lot of my current clients are my friends and it's like when they're close to labor but they're not like fully in labor yet. It's like I don't know, you see them like center and like, I guess I was like doing that sort of like centering, kind of holding my stomach or like my back, kind of like leaning over, breathing and stuff. And she was like, "Are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, because I really didn't feel anything, but I think things were kind of working. I just didn't know they were working. So we just walked and walked all day and I felt totally fine. And then me and my husband came home and we were just like watching a movie, hanging out. And I was like, well, we need to go to work tomorrow, so like we should probably go to bed. And I literally, when I think back on it, I swear, like I rolled over, and it was like I started feeling like the tightening and release, and then tightening and release. And I think it happened like 3 or 4 times. And I rolled over, and I was like, I think I'm in labor. And he was like, okay. And he was like, it's usually a lot more, like he was like, I thought it was going to be something like, yeah, dramatic or something. And he was like, well, how do we know? I was like, I don't know. I was like, everybody just keeps telling me you'll know, like, you'll know.
Right.
And I'm like, so I was like, I was like, I'm cramping, but it's very rhythmic. And he
Mm.
was like, okay. He was like, well, didn't they say we're supposed to like time them or something? He was like, do you know how to do that? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I do. I was like, I guess let me, pull up my phone and try that. So I started timing them and they were a little inconsistent, but for the most part, they were like 4 or 5 minutes apart. So I was like, didn't they say that that's when we were supposed to like start calling the midwife and stuff? And I'm really scared that my internet's gonna go out. Yeah. The lightning is like so like it's like very bright.
That's crazy.
Um, but hopefully my internet doesn't go out. But yes, so I was just like, okay, I guess let me start calling people. And mind you, this is like probably like 11 o'clock midnight, maybe. And so I was like, okay, let me call. I called my mom first because she's my mom. And then I called my midwife just to give her like a heads up. And then she was like, okay, and also go ahead and call your doula. So I called my doula. And they were all like, you're talking through your contractions. So even though they're really close, like you're still talking through them. They don't seem super intense. So they're like, go take a bath, hang out, relax, which I tell that to my clients now. And like knowing, like being the mom, like it's impossible to because you're so excited. Like you're like, oh my god, today's the day, or maybe tomorrow. We don't know.
Yeah.
um, and so I tried to relax, but it started getting like more intense for sure. And so I called them all again, and I was like, hey, it's definitely getting more intense. Can you like get here, please? I think it was my mom who got here first, and then shortly after my doula got here, and they were like setting up the room and everything, and I was still like trying to move around just to stay like up and moving. And so I was kind of like helping my husband get like the sheets to put on the bed and all those sort of things to like get the room set up. And we were pulling stuff out and I like started having a contraction. So I like leaned against the wall and I'm like paused because I'm having a contraction. And he's like trying to hand me something. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm in labor. I'm having a baby. I'm contracting. And so I'm like kind of laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, man. But like, I'm like, and he was like, oh, he was like, I just, like, I mean, but he's never seen it, you know,
Mhm.
like he doesn't know. So he was like, I was like, what did you think? I was taking a nap on the wall? But I was like, he definitely kept me laughing. So,
I love
so
that.
then they got everything set up, and I remember like being on the bed, and they didn't want to get me in the water or anything until midwife got there. That's what she had said, and because they didn't want to like slow anything down. So they had the tub and everything set up. We actually ended up moving it instead of doing it in the actual living room. We did it in the bedroom just so we'd have access to the bed and the bathroom and all of that a little bit easier. And so they got everything situated. And when my midwife finally got there, she like came in the room and she like, if I would have guessed like how like dilated or any of that I was, based on like the pain that I was feeling, I would have maybe guessed like a 3 or 4 maybe. And so she was like, "Do you want me to check you?" And I was like, I'm not super like into all of that. And she was like, "It's totally up to you." She was like, "I don't usually do it." And she was like, "But you're a first time mom, so like whatever you want is what we will do." And I was like, "Well, I'm curious just because like I just want to know." And I was like, "But I think what I want to do, and I think this is what helped me the absolute most, is I asked her to check me, but I asked her to not tell me how many centimeters dilated I was."
Hmm.
And so she did check because I wanted her to know, so that way she knew like where I was.
Right.
And I mean, with me being a first time mom, like none of us literally had any clue. Like, are we going to be here for the next 3 days? Are we going to be here for the next 3 hours? Like, where am I? So I was like, just go ahead and do it, and we'll that way you know. And I was like, but do not tell me. I don't want to know. I'm a numbers person. The second that I hear a number, if she would have told me like 2 or something, yeah, I would have started calculating, and I felt like that would have taken me out of labor land. And I don't feel as I know that like the cervix check in general kind of takes you out of that, but I feel like the number would have taken me out more than the physical touch of it.
Mhm.
So I was like, just go ahead and do it. So she did. And I'm like in labor land, so it didn't even dawn on me that like how would it be possible for her, if I was a 3 or a 4, for her to say, "Oh, I feel your baby's head." And I was like, cool. Like I'm just like, and like I'm a first time mom, so I'm like, cool, sounds good. Like, and not even thinking like, how is like I have to be farther along then because how else would she be feeling my baby's head? So I was like, okay, cool. And she was like, "Do you want to get in the tub?" And I was like, yeah, let's do that. Because I'm like, I'm tired at this point, let me just get in the tub. So I get in there, and my mother in law, I don't really remember, like, because it's kind of spotty in some places.
Mhm.
So I don't really remember saying this, but my mother in law loves to tell people because my mother in law was there as well, which I will say I wanted her there. I have an amazing mother in law. So my mom and my mother in law, they were like, them and my doula were like my little dream team trio of pouring the water on my back because that's all I wanted.
It's amazing.
And so she said that when I got in the water for the first time and I like sunk down in it, she said that I literally looked up at her and like my face just like lit up, and I said, "This water is magical." And I was like, and
Relate.
it was so, and like, I don't remember saying that, but I remember the feeling that I had when I got in that water. Like, I was like, whoa, like, I was in pain, and I was, like, it was hard, but it's when people say that it is a purposeful pain, like, I knew why the pain was there, and I knew the pain was going to end. So it wasn't like that. I mean, it was intense, but it wasn't that intense.
It's a different category. Like some people choose not to call them contractions, they call them surges. I
Yeah.
I get the idea behind that. Like to me, I'm like I still categorize it as pain because ouch.
Yeah, it was not comfortable.
It's not like a paper cut.
No,
It's not like a
a
headache,
broken
like
bone.
breaking a
Yeah.
bone or a
Mhm.
splinter. It's just not the same
No.
type of sensation because like you said, like as long as your head is in the game and you're not like sort of withdrawing from the sensation, you know that there's motion with it, and there's purpose, and there's a result,
Yes.
and it does,
Yes.
and it's not constant. Like
No.
it does this, right? Where
Yes.
it
So you
starts,
get breaks.
and then it's really intense, and you have to work through that intensity, and then it lets off, and you're like,
Yeah.
whew, it's like,
I can breathe.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's just so, it is so hard to explain, especially like, I mean, I feel like everyone who explained it to me, like they tried their best, but then like you just don't know until you're doing it, and then you're like, oh, this isn't, I mean, it's painful, but this isn't like as bad as I thought it was going to be either. And so, yeah, getting in the water was amazing. It gave me that like energy recharge that I needed. I'm not sure how long I was in the tub, but I know that I must have gotten completely dilated in that time that I was in there, because they said that my water wasn't breaking. And so when you're having a home birth, you know, they don't manually break your water. So my doula was like, okay, let's go get on the toilet. And they had me on the toilet a couple different times before I got in the tub too, just to kind of like get him down and in his position and everything, which I will say works wonders. The toilet is intense. The dilation station for sure.
Really, for some reason with my first birth, I was like, not feeling it. So I spent a lot of time in the tub. My first birth was like, labor was 23 hours. It was a lot of work.
Wow.
Whatever. My second, I spent hours on the toilet, which sounds awful. Like, you think about it.
But it actually feels in a way good.
It was productive. Like, you wouldn't believe. That baby moved down. Faster than I wanted.
Very far.
The tub didn't fill up in time, and I ended up having him not in the tub like I wanted. It was okay. I was like 15 minutes away from having a toilet baby.
Oh my gosh.
And my wife arrived. She's like, how about we move you off the toilet now? And I was like, I'm good. I have time. She's like,
no,
off
you don't.
The toilet you go. Let's go.
I love it. Yeah, every time I sat down on the toilet, like I literally felt him like drop down. Yeah. And like I would be like, whoa, like every time I'd be like, whoa, whoa. And so they put me on the toilet because they're like, we got to get your water to break. And so they had me do a couple contractions on the toilet, and they literally had me like putting my leg like up on something like that to try to like manipulate, you know, side to side to get it to pop. And they were like, you know, just kind of rest here. But it was getting really intense. Like that was probably like the most intense, other than obviously like the ring of fire and pushing, but like it was getting so intense that I was literally like, I need something to squeeze. Like I just need something to squeeze. And I feel like I was making a lot of noise, but my mom and my mother-in-law were like, you made that look so calm. And I was like, really? Because I was screaming in my head, but I guess it wasn't coming out verbally. Like they said, I was told though, like my doula kept telling me like low sound. So like I was like being very verbal and loud, but I guess it was because she kept saying to do those low sounds that they were like, you were just like growling.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's what she told me to do.
Strange noises.
Yeah.
When you're like, what's happening? What kind of animal am I?
Yes. And so, but it worked. Like it worked. So if I had a contraction and I did like those low, like, oh, like that, it felt better.
Yes.
Like, and so I was like, I'm gonna sit here and sound like I'm making whatever these noises are, whatever kind of,
I don't know what I sound like.
Right, a bear or something. Like, so yeah, so I was doing that, and then I kept saying, please just break, please just break, please just, like I was literally like pleading with my water bag to just break. And finally a big contraction came, and it literally felt like that was the only moment of my birth that like I felt like was similar to like the movies, you know, because it literally felt like the big like gush.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that was, and then as soon as it popped, it got like real intense. And I was like, back to the tub, get me back in that tub. So we like, I just remember like shuffling back to the tub, and I was like, I think he's gonna fall out. And they were like, he's not gonna fall out. You're fine. I was like, okay. So I like get back in the tub, And I remember like pushing, it didn't feel that long. I think my midwife and my mom and everybody said it was probably about an hour maybe, that I was pushing. And my midwife apparently has this little trick that she does. And so I'm like doing my pushes. It took me a few pushes to figure out like how to push,
Yep.
because I was I felt, I definitely felt like like that urge, you know, like, no, which I thought was really cool because I'm just not a huge fan of like the coach pushing in the sense of like watching the contractions and all of that. Like I'm just not a big fan of that. Like I wanted my body to tell me like when it was ready to push.
Mhm.
And so it was really cool to like feel that and to feel like I could literally feel like his arms and legs like moving. And like I kept saying that to my mom because my mom had natural births and she always would like tell me like, "Oh yeah, I just felt y'all swim right out." And I'm like, I literally could like feel him moving. So it
Wow.
was really cool, but it did get really intense and I was trying to figure out how to push, but I was pushing a lot with like up here and
Hmm.
not pushing down. And so in between one of my contractions, I remember my doula like not getting like in my face, but just getting like really close to me and just like really calmly. I don't remember exactly what she said, but just kind of like explaining don't push with up here. Relax up here, and when it happens, bring all of your strength together and push down. And I was like, okay. And she was like, you won't have to push so long if you just push down. And at that point, I'm like, girl, I will listen to whatever you tell me if this baby just gets out. So the next push, I was like, I literally was just, and honestly, the whole time I was like in labor, I do feel like it was a very like spiritual experience for me because it is just like, I don't know, how much closer can you get to God and on this side, you know, of heaven than to be birthing life. So
Estimation.
no. And so like it did feel like in a way like I was kind of like praying through it all, but when I was pushing, like I was literally just like there was just like these prayers going through my head and I was just like you can do this, but then it was like me saying I could do this, but also just like feeling that like overwhelming, you know, feeling when you're just like, oh, I can do this. Like I can. And so I did another contraction and I pushed down and they were all like, that was it. Like that was a good push. And I was like, okay, like I think I got the hang of this now. So I did another one. And then my midwife with her little trick, she goes, that was so good. You only have like 5 big more pushes, maybe 6 big more pushes, and he'll be out. And I literally was like, no, you get one more. He's coming out on this next one. And she was like, okay. And I literally, that next one, I just, like, if I could, like, I wish that, like, I wish I was an artist because if I could, like, paint a picture of, like, the fire and, like, power that, like, blew up in my brain, like, it was literally, like, this, like, crazy. And when I talk to people, like, they're like, you are so woo woo. But like it would be like the craziest, most like colorful abstract painting that just like exploded in my brain. And I pushed with all my might and they weren't even ready to, my husband wanted to catch him, but he wasn't ready because they thought like, you know, they didn't think that her saying that she later told me that's her trick to get people to like push a little harder. Cause
Hmm.
then like, they're like, oh, I want this over with. And so my husband wasn't ready. And so he was gonna get in and like grab him, and literally I pushed and I was just like, phew, and just pulled him right up. And then my husband's like halfway in the pool, and which of course now he's like, I got in that pool and it was so dirty and gross. And like he was so grossed out by the pool. And he was like, and then you just grabbed him right up. And I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. It was literally like a primal instinct because when
Yes.
I came to, and I have the most amazing photo, I do not even know who captured it. I don't know if it was my doula or one of the midwives, but they literally captured it like as I'm grabbing him. And I'm like full blown, like, awe moment. Like, I'm literally like, my face is like pure shock and joy all together. And I had him on my chest, and I then again look up at my mom and my mother-in-law who are like over me with everybody else, and I said, "Where's the baby?" And she said, "You're holding him." And I was like, oh my God. And then I literally just started. I think we do have like one little video clip, I think, that somebody had gotten. And I'm literally just going, I did it, I did it, I did it. And like, it,
That
it was
moment,
so crazy.
that moment, like, it's funny. So you're talking about how you would paint that moment. So for me, with my first, it was the same, but also the opposite, where like I had thoughts and I had like these considerations of what if I do this? What if I
Mm-hmm.
tear? She's talking about your bladder's too full, you know, my
Mm,
mom is over there. Like it was like there was so much going on. And
right.
suddenly I was like, I got this. And it all went away. And it
Yeah.
became clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was suddenly nothing in my head, in my world, as far
I
as I'm
feel that.
concerned,
Yeah.
except me and the knowledge of what I
Yep.
had to do.
Yeah.
And I suddenly like mustered up this courage that I didn't know I was capable of and strength
Yes.
didn't know I had. And
Yes.
I was like the most powerful guttural roar
Yeah.
like
Yes.
emitted from my body. I don't even think it came through my mouth. Like it was just there.
Yeah.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden my baby came out and my midwife was like,
Whoa.
okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it, I do feel like there was like, it was like, I don't remember ever. Now, I will say that like my whole team was super great about being like, it was really dark, and we just had like these little light, like the little light that puts like the stars and stuff. So like it
Yeah,
was very dark. I don't remember ever hearing anybody talk.
I
Like
love
I don't, I mean, I'm sure they were talking. I'm sure they weren't silent for however many hours total I was in labor, but like I don't remember hearing anybody talk. I don't remember hearing anything other than we did have like some worship music playing, but like I never heard a beep, a phone, anything. Well, in the very beginning, my alarm went off to get up to go to work, and I was like, "Can somebody call my work, please?"
no.
But other than that, like I don't remember hearing anything. I don't even really remember like people coming in and out of the room. The only reason why I can kind of form together what was happening is from the photos. Like I can at least what was happening outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, what was but it was literally like I was in like this little bubble, and like that bubble was like it was like so clear, like what I needed to do was so clear. And then like whenever that like mustard, it was literally like a rainbow vomited in my brain, and it was just like, you are amazing.
Man, there is nothing quite like it, huh?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was I would, if I could have like a bunch of kids, I totally would. We keep teetering between 2 to 4. So we'll see where we end up. But I'm like, I had another friend and doula, I think it was her, who had posted something and said it was something about, I forget exactly what it was, but it was like a caption that she was saying like birth can be like, it can be amazing, it can be a positive experience, and it said, and like the people who end up with those experiences realize that it can actually be like addicting. And I was like, amen to that, because
I
I'm
mean,
like,
here we are.
I love it.
If it's not my own babies that I'm having, I want to help other mamas have the experience that I
Yeah,
had, because like what greater joy is there? And it breaks my heart when I hear people who talk about their birth trauma and like
me too.
when the magic was taken away from them by
Hmm.
forced medical
Yeah,
interventions. And I'm like, there's a time and a place for medical interventions. I'm not even against
absolutely.
medical interventions, but
No.
when you're not a part of it and you're not leading your own
Hmm.
experience, when it gets taken away from you, that's what is most heartbreaking to me. And I'm like, I am here to give that back. I
Yeah,
really want to give that back to the mama that's
yeah,
out there and is about to give birth to the baby. And I want her to have the most miraculous, however, and it always unfolds differently.
yeah.
I will never get tired
Everybody's
of
different.
hearing birth stories because they are
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
wildly different one to the next, although ours have some very funny parallels. I'll send you
Yeah.
my blog with my first birth story. There's some very,
Yeah.
very funny similarities there.
Yeah.
But it's no matter how it unfolds, where it unfolds, by
Mm-hmm.
yourself, who your team is, like it's so magical, and
It is.
I want people to have that, you know.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually waiting for a call, I hope any minute now, from my best friend who is also first time mom. And her actual due date is on Thursday, but we are like, come on, little dude, because we're so excited to meet you. And I'm just like, I don't know if it's just because she's also my best friend, but it's like, I don't even know if I'm like prepared for this one because it's different. Like, I've been to other births and like they've been like acquaintances or friends or things like that, that I'm like, or I wasn't like fully, I wasn't a mom yet or things like that. So like it's still a beautiful experience, but like once you're like so immersed in it and you're like, I'm like so excited. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to know. Like,
It's amazing. We somehow talked for an entire hour. I don't know
I
how
could
that
go
happened.
forever.
We literally could. We have so much more to say. I'm definitely going to have you back on because your birth story is amazing, but now what you're doing as a result of your experience is just as incredible and so large scale, and I'm very excited about it. If you want, just take a couple minutes to, tell people, if you're accepting clients as a doula, which I assume you are now, where people
Yeah.
can find you, how they can reach you. I'll put links in the description so people can also, track you down if they're in your area, but tell them what
Yeah.
area you service. And also if you want to mention the nonprofit and kind of summarize what you're working on and why it's so important, I'd love for you to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am accepting clients, and my doula business is called Hustle and Hold Doula Care. And so I live in a tiny town called Winder. It's very small, but I service like all of the area around us. I'd say like an hour and a half outside of this area. So it's kind of like North Georgia area. And yeah, I have a website. It's just hustleandholddoulacare.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook with the same tag, oh my Lord, Hustle and Hold Doula Care. And then for my nonprofit, so here in Georgia, direct entry midwives or home birthing midwives are not legal. So my nonprofit is Peach State Birth Coalition, and we are trying to get a licensure bill passed. We're supporting a licensure bill that the midwives have created, trying to get it passed here in our state so that more people can have better access to midwives. Because it's actually very hard to find midwives around here. And there's not very many of them, so their spots fill up very quickly. And unfortunately, they are becoming less and less available. I don't know if you can hear that. But yeah, they're becoming less and less available because they're actually getting cease and desist orders. So we are hopefully we're in the early planning stages of a big fundraiser for this January. There'll be more information coming out about that soon. And yeah, and hopefully we'll get to have a conversation about a little bit more about all that kind of stuff and what we have going on.
I love that. It's wild to me. I mean, I'm in Connecticut and our laws here are obviously different from Georgia's, but the idea that it's not legal to be a home birth midwife is
Yeah.
so mind-boggling to me. Where I'm because why? There's literally
Right.
such an amazing and important job, and it's fine, it's not for everybody. And I'm sure there was like that one, but that probably ruined it for everybody and did something stupid because that's just how most of these dumb laws get.
Right. Well, and I mean, and it's not even that there is a law against it. It's just that there is no law. Like there is nothing. And there's 39 other states that it's legal in. So it's just kind of and up until it was becoming like an issue, it was kind of just that like they could kind of do whatever, like they wanted, and nobody really said anything about it. And now it's just kind of becoming, I guess, like a bigger issue that the midwives are getting the cease and desist orders and things like that. So, I mean, there's plenty of other states that were already have this law in place. So we're not really asking for anything out of the ordinary. We're just asking for more accessibility for the people who choose to do home birth. We're not saying, like we said earlier, we're not saying that, you have to do home birth. Everybody needs to do home birth. No, like we, the ones who choose home birth, just want to be able to have that access and the ability to choose, just like you can choose to be induced or choose to have a C-section or choose to whichever hospital you want to choose. So we're just wanting to be able to make that choice.
I love that. I wish you all the luck. I hope that your fundraiser is massively successful, and we'll definitely do a bigger deep dive in our next conversation about the subject of midwifery and doula care and home births as a general sort of topic. Thank you so much for joining. I loved hearing your birth story. I hope the audience did too, because I don't know about you. I can't get enough of birth stories. I just, every time, and then, people,
favorite.
they meet their baby and I always get goosebumps or I get tears in my eyes. Something so magical about it. I love it. Well,
I know,
thank you.
same.
Thank you so much. I'll put all of your links into the description of this video. We'll have clips going out throughout the week. Thank you all for joining us, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks.